My name is Michael Wellington. I've been working with bush agribusiness for 2.5 years now. A large part of my role in the business has been data analysis and benchmarking, and I've been fortunate to work with a lot of big data sets, including the previous Australian Beef Report and this Australian Beef Report. And I also get a lot of enjoyment out of the client-facing work that I do at bush agribusiness. We think the beef industry is an industry that manages more land in Australia than any other industry and is a significant economic contributor in the agricultural sector. We think as a result of that there's scope for independent analysis periodically of the financial performance of the industry, and we think professional managers and service people in the industry can benefit from reference material that we've produced. We've written the Australian Beef Report primarily with beef producers in mind, and that's any beef producer across Australia, from people with smaller hobby blocks, people who are looking to get into the industry, professional managers and owner managers. We also, in the previous beef report, we were pleasantly surprised that we sold a lot of reports to industry service people, from scientific researchers to accounting firms in the bigger cities. So the Australian Beef Report can service quite a wide audience, although we've written the commentary with beef producers in mind. The analysis that we've done in this Australian Beef Report is quite consistent to previous reports that we've written, but as with the last beef report, we explored a particular issue which previously was genetics. In this beef report, we've looked at the natural resource base, and there's a significant chapter that's been dedicated to that. It's also a theme that comes up continually throughout the report. This version of the beef report also includes the Pastoral Panel, which is a more qualitative aspect of the report. We've sent out questions to experts, people with experience, a broad range of people in the industry, to try and capture some of the collective wisdom that's out there. In any of the analysis that we do, we always learn that there are continuing challenges for the industry, which will provide a lot of work for people in the next couple of decades to overcome. But I learnt as well in writing the report, particularly through the Pastoral Panel section, that there is a lot of great people out there in the industry doing innovative things which will hopefully drive successes into the future. The herd level analysis that we undertook was quite consistent to what we've been seeing over the last couple of years with private and company data that we're continuously analysing, and if anything, the surprise was that they actually matched up extremely closely, probably more closely than we might have thought. In terms of unexpected outcomes, that was probably more to be found in the analysis and the interpretation we did at the macro industry level. So, for example, we found some interesting results with terms of trade and how that's changed over the last couple of decades, which we think will provide an interesting insight for the readers. We recognise that we can give some interesting insights based on the data analysis that we undertake, but in any of the work we do, whether it's the beef reports or client group work, we recognise that we can only give so many insights from the data, and there's a lot to be learnt from experiences and collective wisdom of those who are out there in the industry. It was great to read a lot of positivity and optimism coming through in the comments we received for the Pastoral Panel, particularly from people who have been in the industry for a long time. It's reassuring to know that they're optimistic about the future. The other interesting aspect of the Pastoral Panel was that we received fairly consistent responses for each question, which we were able to group up against consistent themes, and it demonstrates to us that people thought quite considerably about the questions that we asked, and there's common themes and wisdom to be found in the industry. The natural resource base is critically important both from the perspective of the present and the future. In our experience, it's an observation that the natural resource base and grazing land management is the #1 thing producers can do in terms of matching stocking rate to carrying capacity to ensure business performance is economically and environmentally sustainable in the short to medium term. But not only that, grazing land management and managing the natural resource base is one of the critical areas that we need to always be aware of to ensure the future success and sustainability of the industry. I think a sustainable pastoral industry is one that produces food and fibre in an economically rewarding way for all participants, and does so while at least sustaining, if not improving, the environment that it operates in. In terms of the quantitative outputs of the report, we're always analysing data, whether it's from private clients, state governments, other work that we do, and in this case the ABARES survey for the Australian Beef Report. We apply a very consistent methodology across all the data sets that we analyse that complies with the management accounting principles and an approach that we've come up with to analyse beef business performance. So that enables us to compare the results that we've generated for each region in the Australian Beef Report with some of the private client data that we have access to, and also a lot of other data we've got from across Australia in our database. So the Beef Report itself is sent out to purchasers in hard copy format. We think that's the best way to present this kind of reference material. But in purchasing the Australian Beef Report, not only do you receive that hard copy report, you get access to online resources. And in the online resources, we've included a greater level of detail that just wasn't reasonable to include in the report. So people who have an interest in a specific region, a market for example, will find much more detailed information in the online resources. Looking back over the history of the industry, it becomes clear that the successes and the advancements to date have been really driven by very clever and innovative individuals over the years. So it's very clear that intellectual capital drives a lot of the gains in terms of productivity and other things that we see in the industry. And we've got every reason to believe that that will continue into the future. And so we think that intellectual capital needs to be valued as such by the industry. We are quite heartened by all the interactions that we get with different people in the industry. There is a lot of clever and innovative people out there, and the Pastoral Panel section of the report is great evidence of that. We think there's great space in the industry for an independent analysis to be done, and that's because we're free from any kind of editorial pressures that may be present by seeking funding from external bodies. We've got a lot of insights over the years that we gain from our experience working in the industry with clients, and that's complemented by the analysis that we've presented in the report, and we think they're valuable insights for the industry, and we're happy to put them out there for commercial scale. With that in mind, we also want to, submit ourselves to a level of rigour and critique in undertaking these kind of analyses. So while we've done the report independently, we've sought independent reviews from someone with a scientific background and also producers. I think producers are, having had some experience going out and presenting at different events for producers, there is an element of snoopery that comes into it, and producers love to be looking over the fence and comparing themselves to other regions, their neighbours and other markets. So I think producers get a bit of enjoyment and insight out of understanding where they sit in the scheme of things, but beyond that, there's a lot of insights, not only from the data but from the guest chapters as well, around different things that people are doing, managing beef businesses across the country, that beef producers anywhere can benefit from.